Wait, are we starting? We're starting.
First question, number one.
No, hold on,
Mike,
Mike, you gotta do the intro first. You gotta do an intro first.
I gotta do an intro?
You gotta do the intro.
I wanted, this is like the we banter a bit. It's like radio, we talk, and then we like, oh shit, we've been live for 15 minutes. Okay.
Oh my gosh, you bamboozled me.
Riccardo, first things first, before we kick things off, is there politics in jiu-jitsu?
Of course. There has to be. Well, there's politics in anything. If there's power, if there's money, if there's ego and arm bars, there's going to be politics. You can't. It's inevitable. There's no. Only heaven is perfect. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have that here. We're on Earth. So at the end of the day, like, there's going to be egos involved. There's going to be opinions involved. So there's always going to be politics. You know what I mean? And the problem is, I think, like, there's the constant debate on what's good for the sport and what we can do here and what's allowed and what's the cultures created here. And that's what people constantly disagree over, I think Tony and a lot of other guys from OJA, they know what we're allowed to do. Is what we're allowed to do necessarily the best for the sport? I don't know. You know what I mean? I think there's some other things that people want to see, and I think they should have the right to see those things through. And you know what I mean? It's just there's politics in jiu-jitsu, like, not just in Canada, not just in Ontario. Man, you have no idea what happens outside of Canada. Like, it's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, my day-to-day is dealing with jiu-jitsu politics. You guys don't understand. You know what I mean? So
we'll jump into that, but let's kick this off officially. This is the Choking Hazard podcast, sponsored by Nope. Oh wait, we have a sponsor, Aaron. We have our very first sponsor. I've been working diligently in the background for the last several weeks, and we've landed our first official sponsor. That is CanadianProtein.com for all your supplement needs. If you're sick and tired of looking like Aaron Gall, you're going to go to CanadianProtein.com. You're going to log in. You're going to pick up some whey protein, not the soy boy protein that Aaron Gall takes. We want the real stuff. You're going to go in. You're going to use the promo code CHOKE. You're going to get yourself 10% off all your supplement needs. That's www. Well, you don't even need www anymore, but CanadianProtein.com. Promo code CHOKE. You get 10% off. Let's kick this off, Aaron.
All right. It's the last time you're doing a promo.
I don't think so.
So, Riccardo, I want to thank you very much for joining us today on the Choking Hazard podcast. How have things been over there?
Pretty good. I'm in Hamilton, not too far away from you guys. Mean streets of Hamilton, Ontario. And,
I feel sorry for you.
Some days I do too, but, make the best of the situation we have here. Hamilton's good. You guys in Toronto are out there protesting and spreading Corona, but we're just keeping quiet, and everything seems to be,
just keeping quiet.
Yeah. We want to enjoy, our life. So we're not causing any mischief out there in the streets like you guys, but things are going good in Hamilton. Jiu-jitsu kind of is back. Unfortunately the club I train at had a little bit of a flooding situation. So we're a little bit of a delay. There was a huge rainstorm here and the entire street got flooded. So we got another week or so before we can get back to, the weird kind of training that's allowed currently, but life is good, healthy. No one that I know has COVID or Corona. No one's died from it. I know a bunch of guys that got it and beat it, so that's good. So all's good on my end. How you guys doing?
We're good. We've been like you
doing
said,
awesome.
like we've been keeping busy. We started this up, but I wanted to, like, you've been like throughout the mainstream, just kind of starting up a new podcast. You've been constantly on everybody's social, pushing your content. You've had a lot of people through your website and everything. Like, how, like, is that just kind of like something that you just came out of the fly, or you had been doing that before, especially during the quarantine time, or?
So I've always kind of thought about doing a podcast, and I think when everything kind of got started with the COVID, I was just like, hey, why not? So I was already co-hosting a show with Flow Grappling, and then it just, there was just too many guys on the podcast, so we just kind of like felt it was best to just scale back a bit. I started my own podcast, just with guys that I've, known, helped, train with, and met over the years. And then since then, the guys at Flow asked me to start another one for them and gave me my own show, which was cool. So I've been kind of running 2 podcasts. I kind of slowed down on my own a little bit because it's just, man, it gets to be too much. But yeah, I just try to stay busy, no jiu-jitsu training, tried to keep the mind stimulated best I can by, talking to other black belts and talking about the stories of jiu-jitsu and analyzing techniques and breaking down stuff. So that's kind of how it always got started. I always thought about doing it for honestly, like for years, but I was like, man, I don't know anyone that would want to hear what the bullshit I have to say. You know what I mean? But then I started seeing other people. Like I saw you guys, so I was like, all right, so I can't be that bad. So
I can do this easily. This is not a problem.
I'm just joking. No, you guys are doing a great job. It's cool. But I was like,
appreciate it.
Yeah, I just, I didn't think anyone would want to listen. I kind of put it out there on social. I was like, hey, would anyone be interested? And then, they started to pick up and had some great guests like Hodger Gracie and Leo Vieira, Damian Maya. It's kind of cool because it became like a domino effect. Like the more guys I got, the more people reached out. And then the more people were like, oh, hey, do you want me to reach out to this person? I'm like, sure. So it just kind of took off. And yeah, that's about it.
Very nice. So you have your own. So I want to ask, this is a 2-part question. Number one, so you have a relationship established with Flow Grappling, and how did that? I want to ask, how did that begin? And then you got your own solo podcast, which I think is fantastic. That's actually something I'm looking to do because I need to ditch Aaron because he's an anchor just dragging me down episode after episode. So how do I get my own show?
Well, I mean, so first things first with the Flow Grappling thing, I basically in 2015 I was working with some other event promotions. I've been working with, I'm sure Mike, maybe more than Aaron. I've been working with different promotions for a long time. I love jiu-jitsu. I love trying to be involved in like the biggest events, and I love promoting jiu-jitsu, So I started commentating in 2009. I even ran my own invitationals. I'm sure Tony actually mentioned it.
Yep,
although he misinformed you guys of why I stopped. But anyways, so I started commentating in 2009, and yeah, I just, I started doing a bunch of different events. I got into Copa Podio in Brazil, a bunch of different events. And then 2015, the guys at Flow asked me to go commentate some events for them, the Abu Dhabi Grand Slam in Rio, and then some other, I can't remember what was the other event, and then a Fight to Win, actually. And then we just sort of established a relationship. I was kind of coming on as a commentator, and then I started working as like a contributor. Creating media, then, even kind of somewhat of a consultant position with them as well. And, things kind of progressed from there. I just kind of stayed on. I kept creating content, doing breakdowns and history pieces, and then, doing the shows that they want me to be on, and analysis and more commentary and more travel. And then, yeah, it just kind of led me to where I am. And then my podcast, like I said before, something I always wanted to do. And, I think the thing is that everyone thinks like, oh man, like Joe Rogan just signed for like gazillion dollars on Spotify. So, that's the goal. But I think the thing is you gotta understand, like what you guys are doing. You guys are committed. You guys are doing it weekly. You're grinding. Not every podcast is going to have 1 million views. Some of them are going to have 5. Some of them are going to have 5,000. Some are going to have 500,000. But the thing is, you just got to stay consistent. And that was I didn't want to do it until I realized that I was ready to be consistent, and I felt that there was a need in the sport. So when I started to do my own podcast for myself, which is the Riccardo Ammendolia BJJ podcast, I wanted to kind of explore something that, the guys at Flow weren't necessarily doing, which is more talking about like the old school guys, the legends of the sport, more storytelling as opposed to like sitting there looking at grips on a berimbolo. But then I went and did more of like a breakdown analysis type podcast for them, which seems to be taking off. And, I've had some great guests there too, like Marcelo Garcia. I just had Fabio Gurgel. So it's been fun, man. And, like I said, it's a long thing. You got to really want to do it long haul. And you have to understand that like you're doing it for a purpose, and the purpose can't just be self-satisfying. It's to service the community. And that's why I try to do it. I know a lot of people, whenever I travel, they hit me up and they're like, when they see me, they're like, man, I love it when you tell the stories of jiu-jitsu. So that's kind of one of the reasons I do the podcast, is just kind of get a lot of storytelling, but like having the actual athletes or the stars or legends tell their stories, and I just kind of cue them along the way. So that's kind of it for me. Does that answer your question?
No, that's a really good. I like your perspective on it. So, like, when you look at like the story, like even like when you got started into BJJ, like how did that manifest for yourself?
So, my father was a karate black belt. When before I was born, he was teaching karate here at McMaster University. So I'd never seen his dojo or anything, but like I see pictures of him teaching like 300 students at Mac, and I was just like, oh my god. So growing up, I always had this like wanting to be somewhat involved in martial arts seed planted in my head. Then I discovered Bruce Lee, before I was a teenager, and I thought Kung Fu was the shit. Tried to look for a JKD academy, couldn't find it. So I found a Wing Chun academy. I did a couple weeks there. And then I was like, well, it's kind of lame. Like there's no sparring. I don't feel like Bruce Lee. I'm wearing black pants and a tank top, but I still couldn't pull it off. So then I saw Joslin's Karate here in the city. Super well-known academy. They started teaching grappling classes, and around that time, that's when the UFC started. And I was like, okay. So I started the karate, and I was like, nah, I'll try this grappling stuff. And I did pretty good in the karate, like point karate. Just like I think I got to like yellow belt or something. But then it was just like it just felt so weird. Like it was like a game of tag, And then at the time when grappling started, at that time we didn't know the point system. So in my head, it was like if you tap the guy, you win. If you don't, you lose. So I was like, well, that's a better way of fighting. And then I saw, UFC 3 on pay-per-view, and I was like, oh man, I'm sold. So that's kind of how I started. I started training at Joslin's, and I was like, Jeff's regular training partner. I got all the way to brown belt training with them and with the guys at Alliance Jiu-Jitsu. Training with Jeff. I was, he's one of the greatest talents Canada's ever seen for jiu-jitsu, one of the best coaches, one of the best fighters that, could have been as well. That's kind of how I got started, it was mostly through, my dad's a little bit of influence, and then, seeing the UFC, it's long before Baron-Bolos and leg drags. It was all about Hoist Gracie and ponytails.
So true. So like, especially like as a guy who's seen Canadian talent, so like especially guys like Jeff Jocelyn, especially all those old Jocelyn tournaments that used to happen, and so you see the game slowly evolving, kind of like in front of you. Where like what's that experience like? As you just kind of see like things just move forward, and especially at a high level that you're seeing it at.
Yeah, it's cool because like I get to see and commentate, the stuff out there, like for the highest level guys, like at ADCC, World Pro, and all these other events. And then I get to double down because I get to come back and like, practice that stuff, teach that stuff to the academy, to my students, and then, see how it plays out in competitions here. I will admit, I haven't been to a local competition in a little while, man. I got 3 kids. I got really busy travel schedules, so I just haven't had the time. I think the last one was the World Pro Trials that George was doing. But the game changes all the time. I mean, it's all trends, you know what I mean? And I think with the popularity of certain individuals and athletes, you start to see influences in the game worldwide. Obviously like De La Riva guard, reverse De La Riva, Baron-Bolo was the shit for a while. Now, obviously, Nogi is starting to come back, and we're starting to see everyone, think that they can strap on an English accent and they're John Danaher, and you know what I mean? So it's like the trends happen, and it's, I think the cool part that I have in life, I'm pretty blessed that I get to see all the trends, and my literal job is to analyze, watch, and study it. And then, I get paid to do that. And then also I can go back and take that information and feed it to my students, whether they appreciate it or not, I don't know, but I get to do that, and I love doing it.
Let's go through actually a lot of like the organizations and the tournaments, some of which that you've organized locally, but even internationally. Like, when did you start, like, getting involved, I guess, in the business side of jiu-jitsu? Like, you had your own, like, I think you had your own store in Hamilton at one point. You've run like super fight shows. You've done, I think everything, on the side of business when it comes to jiu-jitsu, you've done pretty much everything except like open up your own gym.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, being a student at Jeff's, they used to run the Joslin's grappling tournament. So that was kind of my first foray into, helping out tournaments. So, being a scorekeeper, being a referee, even though I was, not qualified to do so, being an organizer, being a promoter, I kind of cut my teeth just working with Jeff and his dad through the tournament. And then, around 2004, 2004, I started to see more super fight shows kind of pop up in the States. And then I was like, you know what? I want to do something like that. I felt like there's something missing here in Canada. Still think there is, but there's something missing that, to showcase the local Canadian scene and talent and bring some international recognition to the Canadian scene. So in 2004, I ran the Ontario Submission Wrestling Invitational. It was like, I guess, what's it called? Like the sub thing that Tony runs,
Canadian Submission Expo, or Sub-X for short.
Yeah, the Sub-X. So it was like that, but it was like the original one. And basically in 2004, I did that. And I had like, local guys. I had Marco Costa fight on it. I did 4 events. I actually had GSP fight on the third one. And he won. I did like an 8-man, and he won like the Grand Prix. It was really cool.
Wow.
Sure enough, 3 months after that, he got invited to ADCC. And what I heard is because of all the exposure at the time, there was a website called onthemat.com. And I used to write for them as well. So I used to do a ton. I used to run the event, and then I would write the own article with the results and a recap of the event to kind of try to help the guys here in Canada. And I heard that GSP, winning that event kind of, the people at ADCC were like, oh, okay, he's a recognized grappler as well. So they gave him an invite, which was pretty cool. And then I did 4 events. Like I had Jeff against Fabio Holanda, Spider against Fabio Holanda. I had a lot of, good fights. Zamar Shfia fought Rodrigo Munduruca. My goal was to try to, start locally with the first one only. And then the second, third, fourth was to bring guys from out of province, out of the country to come and get a little more recognition. So that was when I did my own events. So 2004, I started going to Brazil. 2000, I would go there every summer. I married my wife, 2005 in Brazil. And then 2006, I came back from Brazil, and I was like, man, like I wanted to just, do something for myself in jiu-jitsu. So I was either going to like start a fight camp or like a jiu-jitsu camp in Brazil. I had it all like everything lined up. Or I was going to open up a fight shop, because at the time, my friends from On the Mat just started opening up fight stores. And I was like, man, like I think I might open like an OTM fight shop in Canada. But then I was like, you know what? No one really knows at that time what OTM fight shop, like the guys in my city in Hamilton, no one would know what OTM fight shop is. I can open up anything and call it a fight store and sell products, and they'll come.
So Riccardo Ammendolia's business.
Exactly.
And rash guards, please.
Yeah. So 2006, I opened up Canada's first and probably, most recognized at the time fight shop, which was called Fight Planet. So I ran that until 2012, and then I sold it in 2012. But while that was happening, of course, having a shop, you want to go to all the tournaments, you want to sell your stuff, you want to, I was sponsoring local athletes. So it's funny because sometimes I talk to the, some of the guys, and they're like, oh man, how come we don't, come and support the local scene? I'm like, do you realize how long I did that shit for here? I'm not trying to sound too cocky, but I put a lot of money into the market in this place, so it's funny. But anyways, I my whole goal is like, working with the big events out there and I'm trying to cultivate stuff here. And then, I just got really busy these last years kind of working outside of Canada. But I started working with events like the Abu Dhabi Pro. I helped Fabio Holanda run that 2009. I started working with, Grappler's Quest, which was, super, at the time, Grappler's Quest was more popular than IBJJF. And I was helping them come to Canada because I met Brian, and Brian used to bring the promoter of Grappler's Quest. He used to bring me out to Vegas and Boston to commentate the super fights, which was amazing. So I helped him come to Canada to do the events. Some of them were awesome. Some of them were kind of a shit show. But at the end of the day, the idea was the same, as, you know, bringing something from America that was famous to Canada to kind of cultivate the scene. And that was my only ambition, you know. And, you know, I was met with a lot of resiliency, like local politics, you know, showed its ugly face. I had guys that, which will remain nameless, walking behind me, tearing down Grapplers Quest posters, which kind of sucked because it's like, you know, it just doesn't, it's not good for anyone. So, you know, that happened. Grapplers Quest kind of dropped off. And then I got hired to work with Five Grappling, helped them with a lot of their marketing efforts and helped them bring their events here to Canada twice. And, you know, they had some really cool super fights, and they actually brought some big names here, you know, to come compete, guys like Michael Liera, James Popolo. You know, Keenan was supposed to come, and then they actually had the seminar with Marcelo Garcia, Shanji, and Renato Laranja. So I was just trying to do something really cool and different in Canada. I also, in 2010, I ran the Canadian ADCC qualifiers for the North American trials. But again, you know, local politics just, you know, kind of reared its ugly face once again. You're going to notice a theme with what I have to say, but it unfortunately did. And it happens. It's not, you know, anyone's fault or anything, but it just shit happens. But yeah, that's kind of, you know, I did that. Then I started working with Copodio 2013, going out to commentate, helping the promotion. And then 2015, you know, kind of started working, doing stuff with Flow Grappling, and just kind of, you know, stuck to that since. And, you know, I teach at, I was teaching before COVID at Pure Jiu Jitsu, but classes are a little bit cut back. But I've been at Pure Jiu Jitsu since it opened in 2009 with Professor PJ O'Sullivan. He's a really great guy. Really nice guy. A lot of people know him in the community. And that's pretty much it. You know, I've just been grinding, still trying to figure out something that I want to do here in Canada, talking to some local guys about maybe doing some, you know, ADCC type events, maybe to get some qualifiers. But I have a feeling we may have to do those out in like Vancouver or something, or somewhere other than Ontario, just so we can maximize the potential support.
Nice. That's awesome. You've been involved in pretty much everything that doesn't involve running a school. One thing I wanted to ask you, just, I think, what advice would you give to somebody who's like, somebody like me or Aaron, who like wants to start a podcast, because you're doing that right now, or somebody who wants to open up like, you know, like a fight shop business, or like run a tournament or run a super fight show, or, you know, just what advice would you give people who just want to get involved into kind of like the business side, I guess, of jiu-jitsu?
I mean, you got to do your homework, but at the same time, it's like, you know, when people tell you like about getting married, right? They say you'll never actually be totally ready. You just got to do it. You know what I mean? So you got to just kind of, you know, go in, but you got to do a little bit of homework when it comes to like opening a shop or running an event. You can't be totally blind, but you gotta kind of have the balls and the nuts to kind of go for it. You know, if you wait too long, the opportunity is going to pass. So I would definitely say, you know, do the research, take good advice from people who've been doing it. Try not to piss off people or burn bridges in the process. But, you know, as far as the podcast, just go for it. You know what I mean? You guys are doing it already. You guys are kind of doing something cool. I think like what you got to do though is like what I like what you guys are doing is like you're kind of finding your niche, and which is like the Canadian market. And I think that that's something that Canada's been kind of lacking. Everyone's got to kind of find their niche somewhere in the industry, in a small niche that it is, right? But in their small niche of jiu-jitsu, there's all these other small niches. No one's really cultivating, from a media perspective, in my opinion, the Canadian scene. So if you guys can do that and be the voice of the Canadian scene, and, you know, talk to local promoters and maybe start branching out to other people from different provinces, I think you guys are in a good position to take that role. You know, I really do, because you guys are doing it pretty honest. You know, you don't have any hidden agendas other than when you started the show with me earlier. But I think like you guys, it's, you know, you guys are doing cool things. You know, people like it. You guys are very respectful, and you can see it's coming from a good place. And I think that's, you know, that resonates with people, right? So you just got to try, you just got to go for it, you know. And as far as the podcast, as far as getting in the business of jiu-jitsu, you know, as far as promoting events it's a tough one, you know. Again, like, you just got to try it. My best advice is don't think that you're going to make the million on one show. You got to be in it for the long haul. And if you're not in it for the long haul,
so much money in promoting super fight shows. You know that, right? So much money.
The thing is, well, I'll be honest with you. It's 2020. It's
How many
2020.
bedrooms does your house have? 17, 18, 19?
20. But the thing is, it's 2020. Times are changing. Jiu-Jitsu is more popular than ever. So there is an appeal for super fight shows. In Canada, I don't know because the market's a little unique and special here, but we'll get to that later. But I just think that as far as promoting and doing things, you look at Fernando Zulik, perfect example. Okay, Fernando, I don't know if you guys were even doing jiu-jitsu at the time, but in 2009, Fernando started his first event, super small, I don't know, 150, 200 people.
Yeah.
I was there sponsoring him, and I was like, shit, Fernando, whatever you do, you're a passionate guy, I'll support you. Now look at him. You know, he didn't make it all in that first event. 2009, it was nothing. It looked like, you know, rinky dink, right? But he tried his best. And the key is he went out, tried, number one. Number two, learned from his mistakes, right? Three, he did his homework. He was going to all the tournaments. You know, he was working with 5 Grappling, learning what they were doing, picking up some information there. He was going to all the IBJJF events. He was refereeing. And then the biggest thing is he was putting face-to-face time at a lot of the academies. Again, something that not a lot of people want to do. A lot of people see the glorious side of promoting events. They sit there and they do some like uneducated mathematical equations. They're like, okay, well, 1,000 competitors times, you know, $150. So that I'm going to be a millionaire. You know what I mean? But it's like, they don't think about the sweat equity. They don't calculate all the hours that you got to put in, making the poster, changing divisions, dealing with the pain in the ass parents. There's so much more than just like the math that you think is going to be there. You have to value that as well. That's time equity, that's sweat equity that goes into it. You can't depreciate that too. So it's a grind, man, and you got to be willing to do it the long haul. His is a unique tournament because it's open, so he gets a lot more competitors. So it's different than like a super fight show. Right now, super fight shows with COVID, it's a little different, but you know, I deal with super fight shows all the time. Some of them believe and try to convince me they're going to be the next best, you know, biggest thing, and you know, whatever, but some are very humble and some start small and some grow. And then some, you know, some of the other not super fight shows, but leagues, they are fortunately financed by like, you know, the UAE and stuff like that. So they have totally different agenda. They're not necessarily doing it to make money. They're just doing it to spread jiu-jitsu. And you'll notice when you do things just for like a positive note to spread jiu-jitsu, you grow bigger, you get more positivity coming back, you know, from it, as opposed to just coming off as like a guy that's just trying to make money. People see through that, you know? So I kind of rambled there, but that's kind of my advice for people that want to get into the industry. I don't know. Does that answer your question, guys? Sorry.
Those are fantastic rambles.
No, it answered the question, but I kind of want to bring it back to as what you were saying, like, do you think like the super fight standpoint, so that they do in the States that are very successful to what we see, do you feel that those can be successful in Canada, or is there just too much politics involved right now to really get them on the right foot?
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Are heel hooks allowed in Canada, in Ontario?
No.
Okay. So
yeah,
right now,
if you want them to be.
Well, but again, it goes back to the pro conversation, right?
Okay.
Are the athletes pros, right?
Okay, so again, your question was, will the super fight show be successful, right? So right now, the most popular thing is no-gi grappling. It's becoming more and more popular, and no-gi and heel hooks and leg locks are the trend. We don't do those because for some reason the insurance agents of Ontario apparently train under the John Danaher death squad, and they know the difference between a heel hook and a leg and an ankle lock. So apparently that's the explanation we've been given, that the insurance won't allow it. So the thing is, it's stuff like that, you know, until we can get over these like little red tape, we're not going to go anywhere, you know, and it's stuff like that. There's just little nuances in our law here, unfortunately. Like, dude, you know, even if there wasn't COVID, Quebec doesn't even have jiu-jitsu tournaments. Like Canada is so
that's a whole other can of worms. Even on top of that.
Yeah. So when you talk about Canada as a whole, you know, Quebec, you know, a lot of people know Quebec because of, you know, Faraz Zahabi and TriStar and, you know, Fabio Landa, Bruno Fernandez, all these guys that have well-established competitors out there, but they can't even have tournaments. And then Ontario has the number, but we can't do heel hooks, and we can't even do reaping because people's knees will explode. So it's like we've grown as participants, but as far as catching up with the level, we can't unless we can get past some of these hurdles. So we're stuck, unfortunately. So that's why I was saying earlier, if we were going to do anything in ADCC, I just discovered the other day that in Vancouver, you can do heel hooks in the no-gi expert division. So that could be an option.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure like John Danaher's not an insurance adjuster in Ontario somewhere. I'm pretty sure if we just went to him and be like, hey, listen, there's this one fabled submission that just like explodes knees. You don't need to worry about it.
Man, listen, I tried to, you know, in 2014, okay, 5 Grappling came here, and their one rule was, oh yeah, like blue belts can do straight knee bars, right? And you think about it, how many people have you ever seen injured from a knee bar?
Very few, unless it's just like any other submission where it's just like, I refuse to give up. I refuse to give up. Pop,
but
pop.
Is it that much more dangerous than an armbar?
No.
In my opinion, I wouldn't say it is, because it gives you ample opportunity to like, hey, this is on. You should probably submit, or you're going to injure yourself.
Of course. So heel hooks is different. I think that a heel hook in the gi, you know, that's different. But I'm talking about straight knee bar here. So in 2014 and 13 to 14 or 15, I can't remember, the 2 times that 5 came here with that rule, you wouldn't believe the messages that I saw from some of the, you know, well-known jiu-jitsu coaches here in Ontario. They were like, I can't believe this. Straight knee bars, people's legs are going to be broken. This is a travesty. So this is the thing. Like we need. My point is like the culture needs to be
somebody
changed.
Please
I know,
think of the children.
For the children. The children are going to see the legs. Exactly. So the problem is we've grown as a participant number, you know, which is amazing. And I keep saying this, and every time I say this, I get shit from certain people, which will remain nameless. We've grown, but we haven't taken the proper steps forward to catch up to the culture of the rest of the world. And that's why we are stuck. That's why we can't progress. So until these changes can happen, we're always going to be like in this like little plateau. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Let's ask the obvious question. Since we're on this topic already, I was going to ask you later. Feel free to be as controversial as possible. So we mentioned some of these changes, but what are some more things that you want to see from the Ontario scene to kind of progress further to, I guess, catch up in certain areas, and even the rest of Canada as well? Because you even mentioned Quebec. They're running tournaments on like the border of Ontario, like on the Ontario side of the border, calling it basically the Quebec Open, but it's in like the middle of nowhere, Ontario. You go, and then you're driving back 5 minutes across the border just because you just, you know, teleport over a border. Jiu-jitsu is now legal, but then you go back to the area where it's poutine land and it's fine. It's illegal. Yeah. What are some of these things that you want to change? Be as open and controversial as possible. I want to hear your honest thoughts.
It's not my intention to be controversial, but I do think that like, you know, having a healthy discussion about allowing leg locks and reaping and stuff like that is a good start. I think that that's a fair discussion. I think we are in 2020. You know, ADCC, like here's the deal, guys. I do some stuff behind the scenes with ADCC. I've been working with that event since 2007 through Flow and through other, you know, through them directly. ADCC 2021 is going to be the biggest grappling event in the history of the world. You guys have no idea what's going to happen. And Canada, we can't send anyone there other than a few guys like Ethan and Oliver Taza who will be, or Dante, who will be ready for it because they can't compete here under a rule set that's even relatively similar. Does that make any sense in the world? Everywhere else in the world,
except the Great White North, heel hooks and knee bars are spontaneously combusting everything.
So it's just like if we sit here and like look super close at like what's the law or regulation, it's stupid. I think like from an external perspective, we need to just look and say, okay, hey, like what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like something's not right. Something's not lined up here. Why can't, like, this event is going to be the greatest thing in the history of the world ever. You guys have no idea. I know I've said that already, but I'm telling you. And we won't have people prepared for this event because we're Canada. That makes no sense at all. So my point is that there needs to be a healthy conversation with the people that are in charge to take a little bit of and accept and open their mind to some outside perspective and say, hey, I understand that we went this route in order to get regulated and so forth, that the JGIF or whatever, and the UA. I get that. It's awesome. But we can't neglect what the rest of the world's doing. Otherwise, we're just going to keep staying behind. We have some amazing athletes. We have some amazing talent. We all know that, okay? But the thing is, without giving them the right opportunity to compete in the rule set that the rest of the world is doing, how are they going to be on that level? They can't if they're not competing regularly. So look at guys like Dante, Oliver, Ethan. You don't even see them competing anymore. They moved to the States practically because they need to stay sharp so they can compete in the world's greatest tournaments, which is ADCC and a lot of these other no-gi submission grappling, because that's where the money is right now. That's where a lot of these grapplers want to do. That's the dream, you know what I mean? And, we have IBJJF style events, amazing. We have AJP Tour style events, amazing. But we're missing that third, you know what I'm talking about. We're missing
the ADCC. Yeah. Yeah, you do work for them, so. Yeah.
No, I don't. Just to clarify, I don't work directly with the ADCC. I'm really good friends with a lot of the guys. I've worked for them in the past since 2007. Right now, I work with them as far as with Flow Grappling is concerned, but I don't directly work for them. Just to clarify.
Okay. So yeah. Thanks for the clarification. But I agree with you. I think this may sound like a simple solution or an oversimplified solution is. There's amateur sport and then there's professional sport. So why can't there be the amateur IBJJF, JJIF, all those tournaments, and then you have the professional ADCC have a different rule set, different tournaments, different qualifiers, and start to build that in regards to, and you can get to a point where you have. And believe me, I've argued with a lot of people about this as well.
I'm sure.
So I said, I'm like, why can't you have the Grappler's Quest Open Division, $2,000 on the line, come heel hook and get your money, yo. Why can't you have, that style of tournament, but then also have the grassroots, hey, I'm a 40-year-old accountant, but I want to go to a tournament. I want to roll. I'm not cool with getting, what do you mean I can't knee bob? I'm cool with that. Why can't there be two? I guess that's my big question.
So I think from what I've been told, that when the powers that be hear about pro, and not people that you've had on this podcast, but other people in the powers that be, I've been told when they hear the word pro grappling or pro jiu-jitsu, they cringe at it and they don't want pro. Because let's be honest, I think that adds a whole other layer of work that they don't want. Let's be real here. You know what I mean? It's a whole other, there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to pro sports. They have no idea what it looks like. Unfortunately, some of the decision makers for jiu-jitsu are not always people that even do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. They're, guys from the old CJA or OJA, the guys with the karate pants and a t-shirt tucked into their pants with the black belt. So it's, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, we have people making decisions for the better of our sport that maybe just they don't understand what's out there, and they're doing the best they can. And man, I'm not trying to knock any of those guys because it's a pain in the ass. They got to listen to assholes like you and I make fun of them all.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So, but it's
they have to listen to me complaining about.
But the thing is that's the job, man. You can't have the benefits of the job without going through some of the work. So there's two ends of that question. I think it's either we get them to change their mind and allow, or we just do it and not tell them.
Just do it.
I mean,
what's gonna happen?
No, but why can't somebody just do it and not report how much money people are getting? That doesn't make it's stupid. You don't have to tell if you ran an event tomorrow, right, and you did a pro event, do you think the government of Canada is going to say, oh well, this is a super fight format and not an Ontario Open? Like, they don't know the difference. If you ran an event with 10, they don't know. And if you had prize money, you don't announce it and you pay the athletes, they're not going to know. So at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know why people haven't figured that out yet, but it seems very easy to me. You know what I'm saying?
Just for the first rule of Fight Club is don't disclose the fucking persons.
Or that there is any. You know what I mean? Like, come on. I've been hearing the same old nonsense since 2004. They're like, oh, you can't mention the prize money. Okay. So I won't mention the prize money. You don't need to. I used to run my event. I didn't tell freaking OJA or CJA at the time, hey, I paid GSP $500. No, I just paid them their CJA membership money, told them to shut up and get out, and then they ripped me off on that too back then. So it is.
It's grifters.
I think it comes down to just like a lot of like people just don't want certain things to succeed because it goes against their narrative or what they've worked towards, right? And they're just like, no, I don't want it because of X, and it doesn't make sense, and we're not getting our cut, and so they're just going to self-sabotage, right?
Yeah.
So it's so hard where it's going to become this underground thing, and it never really gets to be a mainstream thing where it should be. Right. Yeah. And those are the battles, especially Quebec, especially Ontario right now.
Yeah. So, I think look, let's be honest, Fernando runs his tournament here in Ontario, the Ontario Open. It's the biggest tournament in Canada. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm not talking about Fernando here. Fernando's got the biggest tournament. What I do think that would be a good idea is Fernando. What I recommended to him was, hey, Fernando, start inviting some of your, Cicero Costa boys and, the Meow brothers or Levi Jones or some of these guys to come to your tournament. Why? Let's think about this. If Levi Jones shows up or the Meow brothers show up, right, and they just annihilate a division and somebody films that, don't you think the outside media is going to be talking about that, or Flow Grappling is going to be covering that? Of course they will. Sure. But they won't come here unless something brings their attention. But now all of a sudden they cover it and they're like, oh, what tournament was this? The Ontario Open. Okay, we'll keep that on our radar. That's how you do it. I had the same discussion with somebody else here, and they asked me, well, why doesn't Flow Grappling come to Ontario Open? I go, look, it costs money for them to come across the border. Number one, they have to send producers. They have to send all these things. But you have to understand there's a million tournaments all over the world. They don't go cover they don't even do the Austin Open, and their headquarters are right in Austin, Texas. So they're not going to go to Ontario just because there's a lot of people. But if you bring big names, they'll figure out something. So the question to me was, well, what do you mean? Buchecha and Leandro Lowe came here a few years ago. I'm like, yeah, but they didn't compete. If Buchecha and Leandro Lowe competed and they weren't doing a seminar, I guarantee they would have some coverage, or they would, send somebody down, or, film it or report on it. But to come and do a seminar, that doesn't mean shit. So that's the thing. We have to start, the promoters here have to open up the pocketbooks a little bit, think outside the box. Tony did something really cool a long time ago when he invited Cobrinha, and it cost him.
I was actually just going to mention that. Yeah, go ahead.
So, and it obviously it costed him an arm and a leg, so he didn't want to do it again. But that was really cool because at that time, I put it out there for him on some sites, and if we had somebody like that, kind of try something like that, bring one of these top level Americans or Brazilians in. And maybe one or two of them, I put it out there one time on Facebook. I'm like, man, how cool would it be to have a super fight show where it's Canada's best guys against the US or Brazil's best? That would be awesome. You know what I mean? Have one Canadian guy from every different academy as you can, or some of the biggest ones against random American or top level Americans. And they don't even have to be Buchecha or Keenan, but guys like Levi Jones, guys like Edwin Najmi, something just to kind of get the attention here, because you got to do something, you know what I mean? You got to shine the light here. Otherwise people won't see what's going on. We're just going to look like we're in the darkness again. We got to do something. I just think that there needs to be a little bit more of a willingness and open-mindedness to creativity, and not so well, the CJA policy is, we have to abide by the JJI. That's bullshit. Let's think outside the box here. You know what I mean? Let's be real. The OJA has been collecting funds since 2009. do the math. I'm not telling you that they, have to pay for people's, expenses during COVID or anything like that, which is, hey, that's a discussion too. But why not, do something else to help the scene, and why not try to talk to some decision makers or talk to some people that can influence and maybe try to cultivate the culture here just a little bit differently than we have been doing. Because again, all I see, which is amazing, what we want as a community, we want jiu-jitsu to grow. Am I right? We all want it. We want more people practicing. We want more tournaments. We want more people in the academy. We're doing that, but we're also not getting outside recognition. So if we're paying a commission or we're paying a committee and we're paying them, like I said, you can do some imaginary math. They have at least $100 in their account. I'm sure they can go, afford at the nationals or the CJ nationals or one of these tournaments that they finance. They can afford to bring in some big level guys for a super fight, or just to come in and compete, maybe offset their costs by giving them a seminar the day before, the weekend after, something. There's ways to do it, but we need to be creative. Otherwise we're just going to keep staying behind as a culture. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's about taking risk and trying to think outside the box, like you said. Like, there's ways to do it. It's just, I think it's especially in 2020 when the scene has changed completely. It's almost like a level playing field, especially with a lot of academies, whether they're unfortunately had to close down or if they're restarting a whole new culture. You know what? Now is the time to start really thinking differently and start doing it differently.
Exactly. And it's like, I'll give you an example. Like, I remember like a couple years ago, there was the Royal Invitational in California where they had like all the upcoming blue, purple, brown belts competing. It was something really cool. And, I put it out there to somebody. I was like, oh yeah, if I want to run the Royal Invitational in Canada, it's like, well, you got to be an academy owner and you got to, and it's like, holy shit. So it's like constantly like, it's like, it's, you know what I mean? Like we have to
you do a great impression of somebody I know.
Yeah. But it's like, but it's not that person's fault. And I don't even know who you're referring to, but anyways, but it's
I think you might.
It's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault.
I know.
It's not one person's fault or an association's fault, but it's just the fact that we have to go through that. That's the problem, and the fact that we can't get creative and think outside and do something. Not everything we do, if we run a private event in some guy's academy, we don't have to alert the OJA or CJ or OG, whatever. We don't have to alert them.
C3PO, R2D2 association.
Exactly. The, BB8. We don't have to alert these, these associations. We just got to go for it, and, man, like, honestly, like I'm in a different stage of my life. Like I said, I have 3 kids. They're all going to school come September. I'm a little bit busier these days. I don't have the free time that I used to. Otherwise, I'd be doing it myself. But I hope that me talking to you guys, somebody out there, or maybe even you guys, take the lead and just, go for it, man. Because there's ways to do things that are cool that can let people know that, hey, we have a Canadian scene. We have some badasses out here. There's a lot of top level guys. And you know what? Yep. If we do something really cool with the media here, they'll start looking at it. You know what I mean? We put it out there. You got to just go for it. You can't just sit there and, keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. Some people say that that's the definition of insanity, so I guess in a sense it's kind of insane what we're doing, but we got to do something different.
Mm-hmm. I really like the outside the box approach, because I agree with you. There is a lot. We had Alison Tremblay on a while ago. So speaking of people that are accomplished in the international scene, she may be one of the most accomplished competitors in Canada.
Yep. Maybe
ever. If you're adding up all the accolades, she's competed in ADCC. She's won world titles at the IBJJF, and she made a very good point as well. It's like at the end of the day, like you're talking about like getting recognition, like trying to get more like the media, Flow Grappling, getting eyeballs on Canadian talent. And I think that's a very good thing, because she said as well, like there's a lot of really good Canadian talent and I agree with her. They're there with like the world's best, or they're on the cusp. They're just like, there's just like maybe one small thing that they need just to get pushed and elevated even more. Yeah, I just wanted to comment that.
Yeah. It's like you look at the 4 or 5 most popular Canadian grapplers right now. When I go to the States, when I go to Flow Grappling, and if they'll ask me like, oh, who are the best guys in Canada, I'll throw it to them. And the only people that they know of is Alison Tremblay, Oliver Taza, Ethan Krelstein, Dante Leone. Those are kind of the big ones, right? But why do they know those people? Because they're competing outside. It has nothing to do, and I'm sorry if I miss people because I'm tired, but it has nothing. It has nothing to do with them winning the local, the Hamilton Open. You know what I mean? It's because they're going outside. So
yeah, the Outlaw Mud Show Classic on the border of Ontario and Quebec.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's because they're going to those big competitions, and the thing is, you barely see those people, maybe with the exception of Allison, you barely see those people competing here anymore. They've all moved away. So there's obviously a sign there. If all of our best guys are not our best, but I should say our most well-known competitors right now are all out of here, there's a problem here. You know what I mean? It's like that old euphemism, like it's either everyone's crazy or you are, right? So it's like either they're crazy for getting out of Canada, or maybe we got to fix something. I don't know.
I think I see your point definitely from like a no-gi standpoint. If the money is there and there's money to be made doing, like, I guess you say pro no-gi tournament, we'll just say heavy quotation marks around pro.
It's not even no-gi. Like look, I'll give you an example. Like IBJJF, when they first started coming here, they had the lowest numbers anywhere in the world. You guys don't understand. They were getting 100 to 120 competitors. That is complete bullshit. And why? It's because of local politics. People were like, well, they're not sanctioned, so we can't, like it's always the same thing. So
I love that impression.
So people were not going to these because it wasn't part of, the thing. But it's like, it's not just, and even the Abu Dhabi trials, like you would think like the World Pro trials would be, stacked, and it's doing good. Like George, took the ball and he's really running with it. He's doing an amazing job. But again, like he went to Vancouver. He didn't get full support out there. Like, always local politics comes ahead, and it's something that's never going to go away unless the people in the culture, unless the people demand the change and start making the change, start having more healthy conversations. Like I might be out of touch here, but I feel like your podcast is probably one of the only podcasts right now in Canada that's connecting with a lot of different people. And like the only other podcasts or conversations I see are people doing Zoom classes with their students, or like Ontario gym owners talking to themselves. But as far as people speaking about the culture in Canada, you guys are the guys doing it. So you guys are on the forefront. So it's up to you now. You guys have the responsibility.
It's on us. It's on us.
Don't fuck this up, Aaron. Don't fuck this up like you already have this podcast.
It's either you or Greg King, and he's too busy playing Call of Duty right now on Twitch. So you guys gotta get out here and you gotta do it.
Hold on, Riccardo. I don't think he's playing Call of Duty right now. I think he's still stuck on the 401 somewhere.
That's right.
That's what I was gonna say. Because if I see another fucking post about traffic, we'll fucking lose it.
Bro, it's a lot of traffic here today, bro.
Oh man, so fucking true.
Shout out to Greg King if you're listening.
He's
to
the
this.
man. Greg King.
Actually, let's be honest.
Listen.
No one's listening to this.
No. Listen, Greg King it's fun. Like we can joke, but like a guy like that, like he supports the Ontario scene, and even he tried to branch out. He started Triple V and Grapplers Plan, all these different ventures, and it's guys like that, that need to be out here and kind of connecting with the community. And I recently, like I had George Brito on my podcast. I slowed down my podcast, I got kind of busy, but I'm going to try to make more of an effort myself to kind of talk to more, influencers here in Canada and, try to see if we can get the ball rolling. I recently had a couple Canadian athletes reach out to me asking me about how to get a Canadian ADCC trial. And this is like the third time this year that we've had this conversation. And like I was telling you earlier,
you're like, bro, I'm trying.
Well, no, it's like the problem is I'll be honest with you. When ADCC, the two head officials came here in 2010, they were freaking embarrassed because it was such a small turnout. It was so bad. So they were like, we're not going to Canada ever. So I'm working with some people trying to come up with solutions on how to create like a qualifier for Canadians to go to the North American trials. At least we got something, you know, but we got to do something, you know, and I think conversation is good with the right people, proactive people, problem solvers, influencers, and not just people just like saying no or like, you know, hey, we can't change the way or whatever. But there's enough people in the community that I think we can make some changes here. You know, like you guys, like, you know, there's a lot of good competitors. We just got to do more to kind of get these guys recognized out there.
I agree 100%.
So obviously, like seeing so many different types of formats of like competitions and super fights, like what are the things that ADCC does so well that just kind of just keeps them getting bigger and bigger each year?
I think, well, I mean, they have the prestige, number one, and it's a prestige that transcends, you know, a little bit differently than Gi Jiu-Jitsu, because Gi Jiu-Jitsu, because it's every year, it's like, it's a little different, you know, like the IBJJF World is the most prestigious gi tournament in the world. World Pro would be second, but ADCC, it's biannual. You know, there's big money. There's, you know, it's this whole mystique about coming from Abu Dhabi, and, you know, there's MMA guys competing in it. There's, you know, national level wrestlers are going to be jumping in this year. That's why I keep telling you guys the next one's going to be crazy. I heard a rumor about the halftime show. I don't even want to get into that. It's just this, you know, it's this event that anyone can go into, and you don't have to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and you could do good. Like, look at Nick Rodriguez, blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and everyone's like, oh man, he's like an Olympic level wrestler. He's not. He's just a good wrestler. And he went in there and got silver. He lost to Kainan Duarte. Okay, cool. But like, that's the beauty of it. Anyone can go in if you understand the rules, and that's what makes it also difficult. The rules are so challenging that you can't manipulate them like an IBJJF tournament. You can't just, you know, it's so different. Like nothing irritates the shit out of me more is than watching in an IBJJF event. And I love the IBJJF events, by the way, but I'm saying any jiu-jitsu event with the gi is when I see two guys go like this, grab each other's pant, look at the clock, and then look for an advantage. They win, and then they get up. You know what I mean?
Why,
like,
why are you ripping on my style? Like, that's a lot of my I've won matches at Purple Belt Worlds doing the exact same thing.
I can't hit the player. I can't hit the player, but I hate the game. You know,
don't hate the player, hate the game.
That's it. So, but my point is like, you know, if you bring somebody to a match like that, they're just gonna look at this and be like, what the hell? Like, I thought this was like fighting. You know what I mean? Like, it takes the whole thing. So with ADCC, there's a lot more wrestling involved. So it kind of brings it back to that, like, almost like fighting atmosphere, you know, and it's a fight. It's not submission grappling. Like, they call it submission fighting. Like, there's guys bleeding out there. There's battering each other. Like, it's brutal. You know what I mean? Like, last year, like, Nick Rodriguez and Muhammad Ali squashed the Gracie Mag lady. It was, you know, she was laying on the sidelines. Like, it's a
she
brawl.
was like the first official casualty in ADC. No, I mean, she's actually okay.
Yeah, but it's exciting, you know, and it's you know, anything can happen. Like, you see guys like Lachlan go in there and heel hook these giants. You know, you don't necessarily see that at gi jiu-jitsu, and it's just a different atmosphere, you know. So it's something that it's just super special, man. And, you know, like I said, my dream would be to have it here in Canada. I don't think it's going to, because I think, unfortunately, ADCC has just moved way past that. Yeah. Unless we can get it at Skydome or something one day, but that's going to be like 30 years down the road, but we'll see. But yeah, it's just such an amazing event, you know. And yeah, you got to tune into the next one. That's all I can say.
Still hype man for ADCC. One thing I actually wanted to ask you was, let's talk about rule sets, since we're kind of on that topic. ADCC rule set, IBJJF rule set, fight to win rule set, EBI overtime. What's your favorite rule set? Would it still be ADCC, or what would you say are some things that you would like to see maybe a little bit different about that rule set or other ones?
I like AJP Tour's rule set. I think it's interesting. It still needs to be like tested a little bit more because it's still kind of new. I like IBJJF, but I'm just not a huge fan of like 10-minute tournament matches, because I just feel like nobody does anything until the last 2 minutes anyway, and it's just
shorten the match, boring. Make it six minutes, and make that 6 minutes action packed.
Exactly. So I like, as far as the gi, I like those rule sets. I love ADCC. EBI, I think that the thing is like, it's cool to have everything. There's no one perfect rule set. There never will be because it's so diverse. You know, we have diversity. We have gi, we have no gi, we have leg lock guys, we have berimbolo guys, we have takedown guys, we have guard pullers. So jiu-jitsu is so diverse. So we need different rule sets. I like them all in a sense, but I recognize that certain people will just not gravitate towards certain rule sets. So you're not going to get a lot of the traditional jiu-jitsu people to go into EBI because they think that starting on the back and starting in, you know, spiderweb is bullshit. Are they wrong or are they right? I don't know, but that's just not what they like. So we need to have a couple different rule sets. Some people love fight to win. Some people, you know, maybe don't feel as much strongly about it. I think it's cool. You know, not a huge fan of the slamming and stuff, but that's just me. Some people, they play the strategy and they use the slamming to win. So you know what I mean? Like we haven't established because it got so diverse. So it's all kind of good. You know what I mean? I think it's all good. I think it all comes down to the athletes competing, you know, because you can have a shitty rule set and have two great athletes and have an amazing fight. You can have a great rule set and two great athletes and make a shit fight. So it really just comes down to the incentive for them to fight, the referees. I love personally the stall clock on, you know, I'm really fortunate to have done all the world pros over the last 5 years, and you could see the stall clock underneath it's amazing. So it really pushes the guys.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So it's a really cool rule set as well. Awkward pause.
Yeah, I know. I thought Mike was coming in.
Aaron's processing in his computer.
I thought Mike was coming in with something. That's why.
It's all good.
So fuck, now I totally lost my train of thought.
God damn it, Aaron. Way to go. Way to be professional here, Aaron.
All right, I know exactly. So
I think
kind of like.
Go ahead.
No, I got it. I got it now. Come on, give me a second.
Go ahead.
So especially like where do you kind of see like the sport going now? Like, cause you know, we talked about trends. So where do you think that next trend might be heading to? Is it more kind of like still in this leg lock factor? Is it kind of going to move away from that more into a wrestling factor? What are you thinking?
I think that the leg lock thing it's not like it's not something new now. Now it's like accepted. So now what you're starting to see is a lot of the top jiu-jitsu guys like they're adapting and they're just making it part of the game. You know, like a lot of the names that John Danaher and the DDS guys call, or even 10th Planet guys call, if you go to Atos Jiu-Jitsu online, you'll see their names in the thing. You know what I mean? Like, so like people are adapting. The best teams are adapting. So the leg locks, it's not that it's done. I think that people just realize that you can't just omit it anymore and you can't ignore it. So that's now here. I think the new trend is going to be wrestling and wrestling up from half guard. I think that that's going to be something big. I think that, you know, I think just like a lot of things kind of, you know, do full circle. So I have a feeling that like more, you know, submissions from the guard might come back. You know, I think that people are going to start doing something a little different if they look at, you know, what Gordon's doing and Shanji's doing, you know, arm bars from the guard, triangles and stuff like that. That could be
it's such a crazy trend. It's like
I know.
The craziest jiu-jitsu, like an arm bar from closed guard. Get the fuck out of here.
You know, it's funny because Shanji did it in 2017 twice in the same day, and everyone was like, "What the hell?" You know what I mean? And then you're like, "Oh, it's just an arm bar from the guard." But I mean, he's got such an advanced level that it's incredible. So, I mean, I think that we're at a point. Yeah, I think that the wrestling is really, and you could see it like in 2015 ADCC, the wrestling there was really bad. 2017, it got better.
I remember that. Like I would say it's like 2013, 2015. I remember watching, and I mean no disrespect because you know I'm just you know a shitty local brown belt. I watched Rafa Mendez and Cabrina in the middle of the night in China.
Yep.
A Division 7 wrestling match at best.
Yeah.
I think it was a cure for insomnia. I think I fell asleep halfway through it. I woke up, they were still standing.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are these two guys wrestling?
But look at what a difference 2017 Cabrina was.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
2017 Cabrina was a freaking wrestler. He went out there and out wrestled everyone. So the wrestling game is just going like this.
I agree.
As far as the no gi game, as far as gi, you know, obviously right now, like the worm and the lapel and all that stuff is kind of the new trend. As far as the next big thing, unfortunately, because we've had such a lull, I can't give you the best answer. I can only give you what the last answer was, which was all the lapel stuff.
Lapel, worm guard,
yeah,
Keenan, making
yeah,
that popular, but more like, well, even a lot of his stuff, like if you look at like Tedede back in the day, like he was such an innovator of, you look at all modern jiu-jitsu, I think it all starts with him, like long stepping people. And
it's somebody made a really good analysis. Victor Doria made a really good analysis on my podcast. I recommend you guys watch that. He's the owner of Fighter's Choice, the second best podcast in Canada, by the way, guys. But what he said was that jiu-jitsu is expanded. It hasn't evolved. It's expanded. So I agree with that. When you see Tedede start doing lapel stuff, it's not that you can say, well, Tedede knew the lapel encyclopedia. No, he didn't. He had maybe one or two or three different moves, but they were all different. But what he would do is when he would do the move, it would be one move, right? It would be like one move here, one here, and one here. Keenan expanded that, connected all those, right? It's just like X-Guard. X-Guard was a thing. X-Guard used to be the sweep called Joga Fora no Lixo, means throw the garbage out, okay? And the X-Guard used to come from the butterfly guard. You butterfly guard, the guy posts his leg, you underhook, you scoop under, and you throw him out. So what happened was somebody started that move. And then it was like, oh, shit, I can get there from here. I can get there from here. And then it became a thing. It expanded. So a lot of these trends are just expansions of current, things that are out there. Guys like Holeta were playing with lapels. Again, was he doing Keenan's lapel and worm guard back in 1999 against Amari Patech? Maybe one of the moves, but he wasn't doing everything. But he did something, you know what I mean? There's some resemblance, as well, and even leg locks, like, 99, Comprido, he won the World Championship Open with a toe hold. It was the first time, and that was really passé. People hated leg locks, and he said it on my podcast as well. I recommend you guys check that one out. We'll put the link on the description, gentlemen. But Comprido said that it took him doing it in Brazil to win the World Championship Openweight Finals for people to say, you know what? Leg locks are okay. Let's start doing those now.
They're cool. Let them in.
Yeah, but it had to be something so big because they were so looked at, frowned upon at the time. You know what I'm saying?
I think a big thing between maybe like jiu-jitsu back then, jiu-jitsu now, you see a lot more. There's interconnectivity of all these moves, systems in place. I think like what Danaher's doing is like a perfect example. What you see like somebody like Gordon Ryan doing in his jiu-jitsu, everything is interconnected. He knows every defense that he's basically, it's like you're fighting a supercomputer.
Yeah.
That's basically like how I see him rolling is he knows all your defenses, he knows all your offenses, and he knows all the answers to what you're going to do before you even know it. And that's, I think, the difference between like somebody who competes at that level and somebody who's just practicing moves.
Absolutely. I concur with that statement.
I concur.
So when you see like athletes that are just so dialed in, like a guy like Gordon Ryan, what do you think are like the next things that people need to do to beat an athlete like that? Because they're so dialed in, they know so much jiu-jitsu, they're just on. Like, what is it? Just a mind game? Because that's what Gordon does. He's all mind game. Fuck everybody up and then go to the next step. So
verbally, physically, emotionally.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look. There's always a flaw, right? Everyone's got some flaw. Everyone's got a flaw. Everyone's not amazing at everything other than Hoffa. So it's like if you look at Gordon, I think the one thing that he has acknowledged is that maybe his wrestling isn't where he wants it to be. It's good. It's really good. Mm-hmm. It's dangerous. But if you watch 2019, he was just doing like snatch singles. He didn't shoot, I don't think, once. And I don't know if that was because of injury or it's just because of his style. But
I think it probably had more to do with like he basically like snapped his LCL in half of like 6 months before that.
Yeah. But
it was probably more to do with that. But
but there's a lot of like, so, and that right there, that's what makes the match with Andre so damn compelling if it happens, because, look what Andre did to Penna. I was commentating that match. He double-legged Penna into my table, and the table hit my stomach, and I think I still have a red mark on my belly from the freaking table because the power that he generated through. It looked like I thought Bill Goldberg was spearing Big Kevin Nash back in WCW 1999 Bash at the Beach. You know what I mean? It was insane. So, that's what makes that match, so interesting, because I think Andre's got the wrestling down, and, he defeated Penna, who beat Gordon twice. And Penna was trying to entangle Andre's legs a lot, and Andre was just boom, out of there every time, stuffing out, and he had gas for days. And the one thing that was funny at the end of the match, I don't know if you guys know that, but like Andre was already retired. Like I was with him in Abu Dhabi when he retired. Like after an event, he was like, you know what, I'm done. Like we were hanging out in the sand dunes on camels and shit. He was like, man, Balea, I'm done. He's like, I'm gonna go do my ADCC fight with Penna. And that's it. I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm going to focus on my team, just like Fabio Gugel, and be the best coach ever. But then he fought Penna, and he looked awesome. And then he beat Penna. And then the promoter, Mo Jassim, was like, hey. Yeah. Oh, no. And then the promoter was like.
One more match.
That's it. Then the promoter was like, hey, man, go out there and do like a pose down with Gordon. So at that time, Andre had two options. He could have said, hey, you know what? I'm retired. He could have made a speech and said, you know what? Gordon's the next in line. Good luck to him. He didn't say anything. He went there. He took his picture. And, rumor has it that he might take the match. I think we're going to find out real soon.
Is he going to take the match? Is he going to defend his 17-time super fight title? Stay tuned.
That's it. Stay tuned. We'll break it next week on y'all podcast. But, it's supposed to – I don't know. I know that they're talking, and we'll see. Again, like what a lot of people – it's funny because some people were like, oh, man, he's fucking afraid of Gordon. It's like it's not that. He literally retired before the Gordon conversation 2 years prior to that even being a conversation. So – at this point, I don't know. He doesn't have anything to gain. He has, and he doesn't.
No, absolutely not. Like he's lost matches before.
Yeah,
he's won everything that you could possibly win in jiu-jitsu and some.
Exactly. So
we'll see. I think it'll be a really interesting match if it does happen. But I've also because I've trained at Autos a little bit. I've been down there in San Diego a few times, and a lot of guys have been telling me. Galval's been trying to retire for seems like 10 years. I want to say at least 5 years. He's like, you know what? This is my last year. And then he'll go compete and he'll win something. You go, okay, next year is my last year.
Yeah.
And then he'll win something. And then he'll go, okay, you know what? This is it. This is the last year, next year that I'm going to retire. And then he'll win and go, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do one more year.
Yeah. I mean, he's a super athlete. The guy trains so hard. How do you tell a guy like that trains so hard to just pump the brakes completely or turn off the engine? You can't. So, he's still in shape. It's almost like he's afraid to get out of shape. He's still in phenomenal shape. He's still lifting. He's still rolling. He's still teaching. He's still training. How do you stop a guy like that? You can't stop training like that, So I don't think he's going to retire. I think he's done with the IBJJF, worlds and stuff like that, or World Pro. Yeah, but I don't think the ADCC retirement. I think he still wants to fight. But if he does retire, there's a big question: who gets the super fight against Gordon? So the two logical answers to that are either Felipe Pena or Buchecha. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens.
Why would they put Buchecha in there?
Because he got second in the open weight.
He was second. Okay.
Yeah.
They do a rematch of that, and then the logical winner that would be the new crowned super fight champion, or you have Felipe Pena, who was the runner-up in that last ADCC super fight. You have him come back and do another one.
And technically Pena is the last open weight champion before Gordon, so it kind of makes sense too. And obviously they have history, so it makes sense too. But we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? There's still a little time. The event just got announced recently. It's going to be in Las Vegas at the end of September, so we got time to figure it out. But word on the street is it could happen. We'll see. I can't say
word on the street. Word on the streets of the mean streets of Hamilton.
That's it.
I wanted to actually ask you this question earlier because you mentioned Hamilton.
Yeah.
What is the worst city in Ontario, and why is it Brampton?
Oof, that's a tough one. I mean, Bram, I mean, I'm trying.
Everybody, this is what
I'm trying to think of the less offensive thing to say about Brampton. There's some nice people in Brampton.
I'm offended. I'm from Brampton.
There's some really nice people in Brampton. I don't know. I mean, the worst city in Ontario. I don't think it's Hamilton, but Hamilton's a doozy these days. But Brampton's pretty diverse. Let's just say that it's pretty diverse.
we get a constant like dislike, and I'm pretty sure every time Michael says anything bad about Brampton, it's that person just sending me hate shit.
dislike.
At least he's watching. He's watching.
He's watching.
It doesn't
Exactly.
matter, man. And it doesn't matter.
I laugh every time when I pull it up. I'm like, motherfucker again.
He's watching. It's all that matters. He gave you guys a view. That's all that matters.
Haters gonna hate. It's okay.
That's it.
So especially like where do you kind of see like the future for yourself moving forward? Especially, but I mean, like once we get out of lockdown, I know you're really busy still with flow grappling. Like, what else do you kind of see on the horizon?
I'll be honest with you. Like I've really started to focus on kind of branding myself as just in general as like a kind of like a personality in the sport. I've always thought about opening my own academy one day. I don't know if that's today or tomorrow, but it's something that's definitely on the horizon that I think, in the future, whether it's here or somewhere else, I don't know.
Maybe in Brampton, you never know.
Maybe it's in Brampton. I heard
Brampton needs you, Balea.
I heard there's a place across the street from Pryor, so I might go there. But I don't know. Like I just gonna continue kind of doing what I'm doing. I did like some seminars and workshops, and I was actually like planning to go do a couple workshops this summer, and then everything happened, so that got canceled. So I'm like, shit. But one door closes, another one opens. I started focusing on the podcast. I think, for me, I'm just going to keep busy, continue with this, continue doing, freelance work for Flow, continue commentating events, continue teaching, continue training when I can. And, and then eventually, looking to open a gym and stuff like that. But I also really, really want to get what's the word I'm looking for? But just like, I want to be able to contribute to the Canadian scene again. I feel like, I don't know if it'll have me back. I don't know if there's too many people that are just like, no, not this guy again. But I feel like I have something to say. I feel like I have value to present to the people if they want to hear it, because I have such a diverse background dealing with all of these other events all over the world. So I feel like if I take some of that knowledge, I think I can contribute, because at the end of the day, I think jiu-jitsu, I think grappling is the greatest sport in the world. It saved me. I met my wife through jiu-jitsu. I met some of the best friends I ever had, my greatest life experiences. So I want more people to do it. I feel like the world would be a better place if people do it. So I want to be able to make that happen here. So I think that might, as far as locally, I really want to start trying to work more locally to kind of help cultivate the culture or change the culture's perspective on jiu-jitsu, and sort of in I don't know how, but I want them to embrace what's going on outside and embracing the bigger picture, and not just stay so kind of focused on what the task at hand is here in Ontario or in Canada.
Absolutely. Like I've been trying to fight that battle with people as well. I'm like, hey, do you see what this tournament, that tournament? Because I'm watching everything around the world, just like you are as well. And, there's some things that I like about other tournaments. There's other things that I'm like, it's okay, but it's not my favorite thing. But if people like it, that's something you can bring back. I think the most important thing, and I think the message that you're trying to bring is, there's nothing wrong with having different opinions on, like the direction of jiu-jitsu. I think the most important thing is getting everybody together, getting people to work together, calling people out if they need to be called out on, like, what I call shenanigans on what you're saying. This is the way I think things should go forward, and this is why, as long as it's logical and not like, hey, it's serving only that person's purpose, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Somebody actually, Saulo Ribeiro said it to me best, and he said, why jiu-jitsu never kind of progresses? I was like, why? And he's like, self-interest. He's like, self-interest always gets ahead of what the bigger picture and globally is for jiu-jitsu. And it really hit a chord with me, is like, I can't go and say, hey guys, what'd be cool is if you guys brought like half a Mendez. Like that's like self-serving for me. You know what I mean? It's like he's not going to have all the answers for Canada. You know what I mean? So what I try to always think of is like, how do I use my experiences to help other people, not just myself or my academy or my team or my friends or my family. What's good for everyone. And sometimes that's hard to do. I think like jiu-jitsu here, it's like it's like opening a restaurant. You know what I mean? Like you could have a poutine restaurant here in Canada and it'll be success. You go do that in Texas, it's going to bomb. You know what I mean? But but then again, if you open a Mexican taco shop in Texas, you're a success. You open one downtown the streets of Hamilton, you'll get robbed. So you have to, there's different cultures, different tastes, right? There's different things work in different places, but you can't just dismiss it. You got to try. That's my message.
No, I agree 100%. Like, I know exactly what you're saying. You gotta try it out. Like, I think that's the perfect analogy. I think you nailed it right there.
Exactly. My taco analogy always gets you.
It always comes back to food. It always comes back to food.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
You know what? And I think the biggest thing too is, like you said, like what's the goal? The goal is to grow the sport in Canada. That is, and you have to get like-minded people like yourself, people like us, more people on the same message. And then
maybe less people like Aaron, but go on.
Sure. But communicate.
You got to do it. You got to do something. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I'm sorry to cut you off, man, but like,
no.
You know how
I do it to Aaron all the time. So go ahead.
Okay, so I'll tell you a story. You know how I got actually started in commentating jiu-jitsu? So in 2009, I helped Fabi Holanda with the World Pro Trials in Montreal. Okay, so he went to Abu Dhabi and then came back and he said, "Hey, the Sheikh wants the finals of the World Pro or footage from the World Pro to go out on TV in Canada somehow." He's like, "Do you know anyone?" I was like, "Oh yeah, like I know the guys at Fight Network." So I was the first guy to go to Fight Network and said, "Hey, listen, put this on, man. It's well produced. It's the finals. You got Marcelo Garcia." They're like, Robin Black's like, "Oh, who's Marcelo Garcia?" You know what I mean? Like, I had like, so like I helped get jiu-jitsu on TV essentially. And at that time, they were like, "Oh, well, who's going to commentate it?" Because it was in Arabic, right? So they had to dub it. And I was like, "I'll do it. I'll try. I'm the only guy that kind of knows what happened. It's either me or Robin Black." So I did it with John Ramdeen. And then we ended up doing another show, the Best of ADCC on the Fight Network. And then they got Grapplers Quest. But that helped me get gigs in commentating. But it also established a connection with the Canadian scene as far as the World Pro Trials, as far as Abu Dhabi, and it helped a lot. A lot of, I even got the World Pro Trials in Montreal on the Fight Network as well. Full hour of people, like guys like Elliot Bayev, Rodrigo Munduruca, Andrew McInnes, who was, pretty current grappler at the time. All their matches were on freaking national TV. So you got to do something. You can't just like sit here and like, try to grow the Toronto Open and, think that one day global TV is going to show up and be like, "Oh, shit's great." You got to like get out there. You got to try, you know what I mean? That's the biggest thing is you got to just go for it, because even if it doesn't work, you don't know, something else might come up. Another opportunity might come up. Maybe another angle might come up. It's just like jiu-jitsu. You try to sweep one way, it doesn't work. Okay, you go this way, it doesn't work. Oh shit, there's a footlock. He's won. You know what I mean? Like you got to just keep trying different things. If you have, just like jiu-jitsu, I always, bring it back. It's like if you don't try something new, you're going to be old. It's like the iPhone, right? You got to get the upgrades. You got to do something new. Otherwise, you're going to be obsolete. It's going to be slow, and you're not going to want to use it anymore. And that's like the tournament scene here. We got to up, I think the thing is that Fernando introduced with Mata Leon. That was awesome. It changed the game in 2009. You guys probably don't know this, but like, I forgot to say this earlier. I was actually the guy that kind of rallied up everyone and said, "Hey, we need to change the scene here in Ontario," because they were like,
there was a famous meeting that it was like,
it was like I'm driving downtown
Tony
Toronto,
Fernando,
me,
Burrito,
like,
and the who's who of the
it was the GTA Ontario Illuminati. We won't mention a couple other names there, but we
don't want to end up in a dumpster in Hamilton.
Nope,
No,
we can't do that. So I was the first guy that kind of rallied up, and then but then it's like, man, I can't keep driving to Toronto in the middle of the night. And then like Tony was like, well, hey, I'm going to start working with the OJ. And I think that's when, he really took the ball and got it rolling. You know what I mean? So it's stuff like that. If we didn't take the opportunity to try, you guys would be doing tournaments on like horrible mats with God knows what new rules. I don't know. Maybe it would have ended up better, but I don't think it would have. You know what I mean? But if we didn't do something, if we didn't take the steps and try, we were crazy. And you know what? When we tried, it didn't work at first. We tried to call ourselves like the Ontario Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation. That didn't work. The government was like, oh, with the OJA or CJA. And we're like, oh, those guys are dorks. They wear, karate pants with their T-shirt tucked into it with their belt and sunglasses. But then we had to do it. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden they're running. So, but you got to do it. You know what I mean? It's not always going to be easy, but it's going to be rewarding if you really, really want it bad enough. You know what I mean? So hopefully somebody heard this out there. And
it's never going to be perfect, but if we can strive to get as close to that as possible, then I think if we land close to that, I think we're doing a good job.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there, Michael Briers.
Why, thank you, Mr. Riccardo Ammendolia. Thank you for having us on tonight.
Thank you for assaulting my last name, but that's okay.
I just beat it down like a meth addict in downtown Barton Street in Hamilton. Do you have any closing remarks for us tonight? Any sponsors you want to shout out? I know we actually have a sponsor now. I may shout that out again.
I heard that. Shout them out. You guys, I'm going to tell you something, Michael Briers. You got to stop with this sponsored by nobody. Come on.
That's what I keep telling him.
Get out there. If you say, listen, if you speak it, that's what's going to happen. If you say you're sponsored by nobody, you're not going to pick up sponsors, but somehow you miraculously pulled one off. I think you had to bribe them, but let me tell you something. What's up with Fighters Market Canada and Maeda and Hyperfly and all these Ikiro and Red Star? Where's Igor at with Red Star? Go get those guys. Go get those guys to sponsor your podcast, boys. Come on.
Working on it.
Go ahead. Name your sponsor, though.
All right. So now that Ricardo's finally shut up now, I can go into our first official sponsor. That is CanadianProtein.com. For the love of God, if you do not want to look like Aaron Gall, go on the CanadianProtein.com website. Get yourself some protein. Use promo code CHOKE. That is CHOKE, kind of like what Aaron does every time he competes. CHOKE. Get yourself 10% off anything you want online. That is CanadianProtein.com. And I'm trying to be self-deprecating with, a lot of the sponsorships and, all the sponsorship dollars that we've been raking in these days, But Riccardo, officially, I want to thank you for having you on tonight. It's good to get a lot of different perspectives just on like the Canadian scene, the international scene. It's always great talking to you and just to other people, even if they have different opinions than like what this guy's doing and that person's doing. It's always great to have like different, fresh perspectives, controversial or not, however you want to think about it. Thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me. Like I said, I've been kind of out and about, but I really want to try to help kind of cultivate the Canadian scene. If you guys will have me, I think what you guys are doing is cool. So please keep it up. You guys make cool thumbnails as well. And for the YouTube videos, so keep doing those.
We already have an idea for you.
Give me like the graffiti, like Tony Isaacs had. I want the graffiti streets of Hamilton. No, just do whatever you want.
I'm gonna make it look good. Don't worry.
Make it look cool. All right.
I already have an idea for yours. I'm gonna pitch it right now. It is Free Willy jumping over for his freedom, and it has your head photoshopped on Free Willy. There's a lot of symbolism with it. You're free. You're free.
Yeah,
from
that's true. I am free from the local politics. That's it. But somehow,
you're a free man.
But somehow, like Godfather 3, once I thought it was out, they pulled me back in. So that's all. I'm back in the mix here. But yeah, guys, thanks a lot for having me on. I got one sponsor, Show Your Roll, and guys at Flow Grappling. Big thank you to them for allowing me to contribute and do my podcast and stuff like that. And that's about it, guys. Yeah, thanks again, and hopefully, COVID's over soon, and I'll see you guys at a tournament, and you guys are, doing autographs because your podcast just blew up on Spotify like Joe Rogan on a Sunday night.
The dozens and dozens of fans that we're going to get from this.
That's it. I'll be sharing this, so you'll get at least 10.
That's going to be up 500% of all the views that we've had.
That's awesome.
No, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. No problem. And once again, you know what? Let's do it again. I think we should, like, you guys, we could do this again, and I could tell you guys stories you wouldn't even believe from the old days. And I got some stuff to say on your podcast. Let's do this again.
Let's do this again, and then we'll do maybe a throwback old school. I actually was pitching this to Dan Maroney and some others. Take a snapshot in time, and then we kind of discuss between this time and this time.
Oh yeah, I got some stories of the Canadian Open for you guys. Stay tuned.
I've seen some things.
I've seen some things that you all.
You'll never believe this.